Hello everyone. In this demo, we are going to see how you can use the new agent-based deployments feature in release management. Deployment group represent your physical environments. For example, it could be a single box dev or multi-machine QA or a form of machines for UAT and production environments. With the deployment group, you can install the agent on each of your target and then drive your deployments directly, which addresses the challenges associated with the remote deployments, for example, with WinRM configurations, firewall exceptions, certificates, credentials management, etc. With the deployment group, you can orchestrate deployments across multiple machines, perform rolling updates while ensuring high availability of the application. Let's start with the deployment group. Creating a deployment group is very simple. You just click here and you can provide a name. And you can copy and execute the commandlet on the machines, each of your machines which you would like to register against this deployment group. In this demo, we will see how you can register a machine to an existing deployment group, which is FabFiber QA, which is representing an Azure resource group, which has about 6 machines here. As you can see here, I've already registered like 5 of the web machines and the database machines with appropriate tags. Tags help us to target specific set of machines within the group during the deployment. We will see that later. Let me take you through the experience of registering the new machine with this deployment group. So all I need to go here is like copy the script and I can execute on the machine which I would like to register with this deployment group. So I already have the script here copied. So I can execute the script from a PowerShell prompt. So the commandlet will download the latest agent, configure the agent against the deployment group. It will optionally prompt whether we would like to apply tags on the machine, and also I can configure the identity under which the agent runs. So let me just configure the tags for this case. Yes. I will run with the default identity, which is Sent Authority System. So now if I go back to my deployment group, I should be able to see this machine registered against the deployment group with appropriate tags. Now that we have all the machines registered and configured with the deployment group, let's see how I can use this deployment group within a release. Let's start with the new release definition. So we have added a few templates to get you started with deployment groups. So if you need to deploy your web app and database to your physical or virtual machines, whether it is on-premises or cloud, you can pick this template. Or you can pick this template which will deploy the web app and database to a load balance set in Azure, in the sense that it can orchestrate disconnecting the machines from the load balancer, deploying the app, and once the deployment is successful, it can reconnect the machine back to the load balancer. Okay, let's start with this template for today. I'm going to pick the build definition which I'm going to use for this demo. So Fabric and Fiber VSCA. So let me get this out of the way. Change environment. So if you look at this template, I have 2 phases in this environment. One that configures and deploys the web app, and the other one is the database. Let's start by configuring the phase properties. And in this case, my target for the deployment is the FabFiber QA deployment group, which I showed you earlier. So if you recollect, we had both web and database machines in this. As part of this phase, I would like to target only the machines with web tag. So let me go ahead and pick. As you can see, it shows there are 7 machines in this deployment group. And when I pick the web tag, it automatically calculates and shows there are like 6 machines that match the tag. A note on this deployment configuration here. With this, you can control the rolling conditions, whether you would like to deploy to all of them in parallel or target half of the machines or quarter of the machines at a time, or you can even provide a custom value. With the deployment configuration, we also derive the availability criteria for the application in the deployment group. For example, if you specify half of a machine at a time, we ensure that only 50% of the machines are targeted during the deployment in a rolling way, and we fail the deployment if we are unable to deploy to at least half of the machines. So let me leave it as all targets in parallel for this demo. So if you look at, I have two IIS tasks, one that configures the website, configures the application pool and the bindings, and the other one for the deployment. Let me go ahead and configure. So I want to run with default port for the demo, same name as that of application. And we support like configuring the application identity with the various different identities. So I could use local service as system or the way you've architected the application. In this case, let's say I want to use a custom account. And I would be needing to pass the variable here. So let me say I'll have to define this later. So let me go ahead and configure my deployment task as well. So same app, the one which I created using my managed task. As you can see here, we support the variable substitutions and web config transformations as part of this task, which has been a long pending task. So since this application uses a database, I would like to configure the connection string for my web app. I can use an XML variable substitution feature to configure the connection string for each environment differently. So let me go ahead and configure the connection string for my web app. And I need to define the variable also. Okay. For the database, note that we had both web and database machines in the same deployment group. So let me pick the same group, but this time I would like to target the machine with the database, and that's exactly one machine which matches the tag. On the database deployment itself, we support both DACPAC and running SQL scripts as part of this task. We interviewed few customers, like how they do, to understand how they do the database deployments. And we find that it varies from like running a DACPAC or a set of DACPAC files to sometimes even like custom PowerShell script with the business logic in it to orchestrate like running multiple SQL scripts. In few cases, they use the third-party tools, like for example, Redgate is one such tool which they use. The deployment itself could target a local database machine, as in this example, or it can target an high availability cluster, in which case you need to run this task from one of the other machines and drive the outside-in deployment to the database cluster. We would be sharing these guidances with our users. So let me go ahead and configure this and trigger the deployment. As you can see here, the deployment is in progress, and you can monitor the live logs for each of these machines from here. Okay, it shouldn't take long. Since I specified all targets in parallel, so it's kind of going on at the same time. Okay. Once it is done with the web machines, it will move on to the database machine. Now you can see here it's running the database deployment. So once the deployment is done, like I can show you the app running itself here. my deployment is working as expected. So as you can see, like I was able to register a new machine to a deployment group, and I was able to deploy the app using the template, both the web app and the database. So, and now if you go to the deployment group, you can see that you can actually see the releases which have been deployed to these machines. I can monitor all the releases here. So this is the one which I just now triggered on all of these machines. So that's all for today's demo. Thank you.